"You're nothing without me, Jolene." His words sliced through me like glass shards, each syllable dripping with disdain. I gazed at Dalton's cold, expressionless face, desperately searching for any sign of the charming man I fell in love with 2 decades ago. But his steel blue eyes held no warmth, only a harsh reminder that the partnership I had built my life around was crumbling before me. I drew a sharp breath as the weight of his dismissal sank into my bones. After years of emotional manipulation, of walking on eggshells and making excuses for his lies, I was determined not to let him have the last word. "Get out," I said, my voice low but firm. Dalton cocked an eyebrow, clearly surprised. "You can't be serious, Jolene," he said. "I mean it," I said. "I want you out of this house tonight." I held his glare, refusing to show weakness, but my hands trembled at my sides. Dalton let out a sharp laugh. "And where would I go? You really think you can just throw me out after everything I've done for you?" He took a menacing step toward me. "You owe me, Jolene. Everything you have is because of me." I flexed my fingers, digging my nails into my palms as I fought to restrain the fury bubbling inside me. He was right about one thing. Everything of material value I owned was because of him. I had sacrificed my education, my dreams, my very identity to support Dalton's ambitions while he built his empire wheeling and dealing in real estate. I had worked tirelessly behind the scenes, hosting his clients, raising our son, managing his affairs, so Dalton was free to secure bigger deals and reap the fortunes. Only now, standing face to face in our lavish but coldly impersonal house, did I fully grasp how I had squandered decades enabling a man who clearly no longer valued me. "Get out," I repeated through gritted teeth, pointing at the hallway leading to the front door. "I'm done being your beautiful wife. If you won't leave tonight, I will." Dalton's smug expression faltered. He blinked hard before his mouth twisted into a snarl. "What has gotten into you?" He grabbed my shoulders, his fingers biting into my skin. "Is this about that country club receptionist? That little fling meant nothing to me. She was just a warm body when you were too busy or tired, or whatever excuse you always have." His callous words sparked an image in my mind. The pretty blonde giggling on Dalton's lap last weekend, her fingers trailing along his chest. Nausea rose in my gut as the reality of his latest infidelity stared me in the face. I wrenched from his grasp, hot tears stinging my eyes. "Just go," I whispered. "Please." Grant deserves better than to have his final years tainted by the unraveling of his only son's marriage. At the mention of his ailing father, Dalton's face softened slightly. He studied me for a long moment before sighing loudly. "Fine, but we are far from over, Jolene," he warned. He brushed past me toward the bedroom, emerging minutes later with an overnight bag. He paused at the front door. "You really think you can make it out there without me?" He shook his head with a sneer. "Mark my words, you'll come crawling back." The door slammed shut behind him with an air of grim finality. I stood rigid, listening to the fading crunch of gravel as Dalton's sleek Mercedes disappeared into the night. In the deafening stillness, I became startlingly aware of my aloneness. I roamed from room to room, engulfed by the gnawing emptiness within me, which slowly solidified into a cold but unyielding determination. Dalton had underestimated me for the final time. Waking abruptly, I was momentarily disoriented by my unfamiliar surroundings. As consciousness settled in, the events of the previous night flooded back. Dalton's callous dismissal, our explosive argument, and his dramatic departure. Sitting up on the plush guest room sofa where I had collapsed in the early hours, I was greeted by the first rays of dawn seeping through the tall windows, casting a mocking cheerfulness about the room. Swinging my legs over the side, I buried my head in my hands with a groan, grappling with the question of what to do next. My entire adult life had revolved around Dalton, supporting his career, raising our son, managing our social calendar and household affairs. Now, for the first time in decades, I was utterly alone. A wave of melancholy washed over me as I reminisced about simpler times, sharing secret smiles over the bakery counter with a charming business student who had tirelessly pursued me during my freshman year of college. Dalton had been enchanting in those early days, lavishing me with affectionate gestures and gifts. I was the pride of my small hometown, where the most eligible bachelor chose me. When Dalton proposed, just 8 months after we met, I stunned my family by dropping out of school to plan our whirlwind wedding, caught up in the intoxicating rush of young love. I couldn't fathom denying Dalton anything. However, as Dalton's ambitions swelled, the sweet gestures gradually faded. He criticized my modest career aspirations, convincing me that staying home with future children was paramount. I buried my needs and independence to support his relentless climb up the corporate ladder. Somewhere along the way, amidst the demands of work, parenthood, and societal expectations, we ceased to be partners. Dalton's ego and self-interest consumed us both. Rising slowly from the couch, resigned to face this new and daunting phase of life alone, I began to gather my belongings. My gaze fell upon the antique desk in the corner of the room, another flashy sign of Dalton's growing wealth. On impulse, I pulled open the top drawer where, amidst the clutter of pens and rubber bands, my fingers brushed against a small, unfamiliar box. My heart racing, I retrieved the velvet case and unclasped it with trembling hands. Nestled inside was a gorgeous diamond tennis bracelet, glinting bold in the morning light. Fresh anger coursed through me as I pictured Dalton fawning over one of his flings with this extravagant gift. It was yet another representation of his selfishness, lavishing treasures on his whims while I made do with the same jewelry he had given me decades ago. My bitterness swelled, usurping the grief that had threatened to overwhelm me. Dalton had smugly declared I couldn't survive without him, convinced I would never walk away from the comfortable life his wealth afforded. Staring down at the diamond bracelet, a bold idea took shape. Dalton wasn't the only one who could play dirty. If he wanted to underestimate me, I would show him just how cunning I could be. Snapping the box closed, I tucked it into my bag with renewed resolve. I had calls to make: an overpriced divorce lawyer, a savvy real estate agent, perhaps even a private investigator. I refused to emerge from this marriage broken and destitute simply because Dalton assumed that was my only option. For the first time in years, I felt fully in control of my choices. Come what may, I would land on my feet, and karma willing, I would bring Dalton to his knees in the process. My heels clicked purposefully across the marble foyer as I returned home from my legal consultation, echoes underscoring my determination. The conversation replayed in my mind. With no prenuptial agreement in place, you have considerable leverage in the divorce settlement, my cutthroat lawyer had said, especially given the length of the marriage and assets involved. I allowed myself a small, satisfied smile as I set my bag down on the kitchen island, the weight of the unknown tennis bracelet still tucked inside serving as a tangible reminder of Dalton's deception. My plotting was interrupted by footsteps and a shut gasp behind me. I spun around to find Lucia, our housekeeper, clutching her chest in the kitchen doorway. "Mrs. Harris, you gave me such a fright. I did not expect anyone else to be home," she exclaimed. "I'm so sorry, Lucia," I replied. "It's been a difficult couple of days around here, as I'm sure you know." Lucia nodded, her eyes gentle and understanding. "I cannot believe Mr. Harris would do this to you. You have been so good to him through all these years," she said. I sighed, the truth of her words hitting painfully close to home. All those years compromising my needs and dreams to support Dalton's ambitions. What did I have to show for it now? Just yesterday, it seemed I had lost everything. Yet, Lucia's compassion and my lawyer's assurances were kindling a small but growing fire inside me, steeling me for the fight ahead. "Thank you, Lucia," I said. "Your support means so much to me right now. I wasn't sure I could get through this, but I'm starting to realize. I discovered that I'm a lot stronger than Dalton ever gave me credit for." Just then, the faint sound of the front gate opening drew our attention. Moments later, Dalton strolled casually into the kitchen. Lucia and I stared at him incredulously. Jolene, there you are, Dalton sputtered, rising from behind the counter. I swung by the office and had a chat with my father. He convinced me we need to figure this thing out, not toss away 22 years just because you're going through some hormonal mood swing. He glanced at Lucia. Would you mind giving us a few minutes? I stood frozen as Lucia nodded and slipped quietly from the room. Dalton turned to me, his expression softening. Come now, Joe. I know things got a little heated the other night, he said, reaching for my hand. We're under a lot of pressure. What with Father's illness, Alex graduating, and work being more demanding than ever. When I still didn't respond, he gently grabbed my shoulders. I forgive you for your little outburst, all right. Why don't we take a weekend trip to the vineyard? Just the two of us. Reconnect and hit the reset button. My blood boiled at his audacity to waltz back in here expecting reconciliation after everything he had put me through. I wrenched from his grasp, my voice dripping with venom. You arrogant bastard, get out before I have you thrown out, I said. Dalton blinked in surprise. Jolene, please, just listen, he began, but I cut him off. No, you listen, I said. I saw the bracelet, Dalton. His face paled. Our marriage is over. So do yourself a favor and leave with whatever shred of dignity you have left, instead of making this uglier than it needs to be. Dalton's shell-shocked expression shifted to cold rage. He stepped forward, jabbing his finger toward me as he spat his reply. You'll regret this, Jolene. I promise you that. I woke the next morning feeling truly rested for the first time in recent memory. Dalton's latest attempt to manipulate me had only affirmed I was on the right path. I stretched lazily, surprised to realize I had slept through the night without the aid of my usual sleeping pills. Throwing back the covers, I headed for the shower with fresh resolve. The conversation with my lawyer replayed in my mind. Document everything from this point forward. Every financial record you can get your hands on, any evidence of affairs. It will only strengthen your position. By the time I finished blow-drying my hair, I was brimming with purpose. I quickly dressed and headed straight for Dalton's home office. If he thought he could intimidate me into staying with veiled threats, he had another thing coming. I took control of my future as I rifled through Dalton's meticulously organized drawers and files, my hands expertly guiding me to the most relevant documents: bank statements, investment reports, loan applications. I assembled anything that provided transparency into our financial lives, anything I could leverage to ensure I emerged from this divorce securely on my own 2 feet. Nearly 2 hours passed in a blur before I heard movements elsewhere in the house. I scrambled to return the home office to its original pristine condition, just as Lucia appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Harris, pardon the interruption, but your lawyer is on the phone, she said tentatively. My heart leaped with renewed motivation. Snatching up my stuffed briefcase, I squeezed Lucia's shoulder appreciatively as I hurried past. You're a gem. Wish me luck, I called over my shoulder. Safely sequestered in my makeshift bedroom suite, I eagerly accepted the call. My lawyer's smooth voice greeted me on the other end of the line. Jolene, I have an update, he said. My investigator uncovered something rather interesting. What followed was perhaps the final missing piece of the puzzle. In addition to evidence corroborating Dalton's long-term affair with his assistant, my lawyer had discovered questionable activity around my husband's latest real estate project. It appears Dalton, his business partner, may be intentionally devaluing the property on paper while projecting high future returns to investors, he explained. It's not definitive fraud yet, but it's ethically questionable at minimum. I shook my head in disgust as I realized I had only scratched the surface of Dalton's deceit. After profusely thanking my lawyer for the update, I hung up the phone, feeling more empowered than ever. I now held the keys to my liberation from Dalton's toxic web in every sense. In a moment of serenity, I reflected on the journey that had led me to this point. Failures often plant the seeds of later success, I mused, and what felt like loss and devastation ultimately cleared the way for truer fulfillment. My philosophical rumination ended abruptly with Lucia's signature cheerful greeting. It smells heavenly in here already, she remarked, entering the room. My longtime friend and confidant had left Dalton's employment to join me in this new endeavor. Her steadfast support through all my tribulations had been a rare gift. Together, we spent the afternoon preparing a test batch of goodies, showcasing my decadent family recipes. Tomorrow, these polished granite countertops would display baskets brimming with flaky croissants, glossy fruit tarts, and artisan breads. As we worked, laughing easily together, my phone buzzed loudly in my pocket. It was an international number I didn't recognize. Curiosity got the better of me, and I answered. "Hello. Jolene Harris speaking," I said briskly, prepared to terminate yet another sales solicitation. But the smooth, familiar voice I heard instead jolted me completely. "Jolene, it's Dalton," he said. "Dalton, my ex-husband was calling me." I listened, surprised and cautious, as Dalton continued. "I'm sorry for the out-of-the-blue call," he said, sounding uncharacteristically hesitant and deflated. "I just heard about your new bakery on social media. Congratulations." His voice trailed off awkwardly, and I waited, unsure of where this conversation was heading. "Anyway," Dalton continued, "the reason I'm calling, I know my apology likely means nothing at this point, but I wanted to express my sincere regret for how everything unfolded." I stood frozen in stunned silence, trying to process Dalton's words as he continued haltingly. "Leaving you and losing the publicity battle afterwards. It finally knocked some sense into me," he said. I discovered who my true supporters were. Lucia and I exchanged stunned looks. Was Dalton Harris actually demonstrating humility? When I still didn't respond, Dalton pressed on. "I ended up relocating abroad to escape the drama and scrutiny," he admitted. "I have an opportunity to start fresh here, but before I did, I needed to make amends. To let you know how much I respect and admire you for landing on your feet. You didn't deserve how I treated you." I cleared my throat, regathering my wits after Dalton's emotional appeal. "I appreciate you saying all of that, Dalton," I replied evenly. "I can't erase the pain you caused, but healing comes from moving forward with wisdom and grace." We exchanged a few more awkward pleasantries before hanging up. As I slowly set down the phone, Lucia appeared by my side, concerned. "Are you all right, dear?" she asked. Considering the question, I took full stock of my emotional state. To my pleasant surprise, instead of the usual hurt and frustration Dalton's presence evoked, I felt only forgiveness and peace. "Actually, yes," I said, giving her a genuine smile. "I'm more than all right. For the first time in ages, I feel completely free." She squeezed my hand supportively, a look of pride and joy lighting her face. Together, we turned our focus back to preparing for tomorrow's grand opening. With clarity and purpose, I stepped wholly into the life and dreams I had deferred for too long. Against all odds, I had salvaged my sense of self from the ruins of betrayal, and nothing could dampen my spirit now. Tomorrow would mark the first sunrise of a life no longer confined by secrets, manipulation, or the suffocation of stunted dreams. With a satisfied sigh, I admired my surroundings. The blank walls and bare floors held only possibility, a far cry from the cold opulence of the home I had once shared with Dalton. The past few months have flown by in a flurry of fresh starts, new ventures, and overdue reckonings. The sale of my inherited lakefront property had left me with newfound financial independence. After the divorce, Dalton descended swiftly into disgrace as details of his shady business dealings came to light. Meanwhile, I embraced solitude and reveled in personal growth. Now, on the eve before the opening day of my very own bakery, I paused to reflect on the circuitous route that had delivered me here. Failures often planted the seeds of later success, I mused, and what felt like loss and devastation ultimately cleared the way for truer fulfillment. With a sense of gratitude and determination filling my heart, I pushed aside any lingering doubts or fears. Tomorrow's grand opening would not just mark the start of a new business venture. It would symbolize the culmination of my journey to reclaim my independence and pursue my dreams on my own terms. As I stood in the empty bakery, envisioning the bustling scene that would soon fill the space with warmth and aroma. I felt a renewed sense of purpose coursing through me. This was not just about baking delicious pastries or running a successful business. It was about seizing control of my destiny and embracing the opportunities that lay ahead. Lucia, ever the steadfast companion, stood beside me, her presence a source of comfort and encouragement. Together, we put the finishing touches on the preparations for tomorrow, ensuring that everything was in place for a flawless opening day. As evening descended and the last rays of sunlight filtered through the windows, I took a moment to savor the quiet anticipation that filled the air. Tomorrow would be a new beginning, a chance to leave the past behind and embrace the future with open arms. With a sense of excitement building in my chest, I locked up the bakery for the night and made my way home. The journey ahead would not be without its challenges, but I was ready to face them head-on, armed with resilience, determination, and the unwavering support of those who believed in me. As I settled into bed that night, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. Whatever tomorrow held, I knew that I was ready to embrace it with courage and grace. With a final deep breath, I closed my eyes and let myself drift off into a restful sleep, eager to greet the dawn of a new day and the beginning of a new chapter in my life. The next morning arrived with a sense of anticipation and nervous energy. As I opened my eyes to the soft light filtering through the curtains, I felt a surge of excitement knowing that today would mark the start of a new chapter in my life. After a quick breakfast and a moment of quiet reflection, I headed to the bakery, my heart racing with anticipation. As I unlocked the door and stepped inside, I was greeted by the familiar scent of freshly baked goods and the sight of Lucia bustling about, putting the final touches on our display. "Good morning, dear," Lucia said with a warm smile. "Are you ready for this?" I returned her smile, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness bubbling inside me. "As ready as I'll ever be," I replied, trying to steady my nerves. Together, we put the finishing touches on the bakery, ensuring that everything was perfect for our opening day. The tables were set, the pastries arranged enticingly in the display case, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air. As the minutes ticked by, the anticipation grew, and before long, the first customers began to trickle in. I greeted each one with a warm smile, feeling a sense of pride swell within me as they marveled at our offerings and sampled our delicious treats. Throughout the day, the bakery buzzed with activity as old friends and new customers alike filled the space, enjoying the atmosphere and savoring the flavors of our creations. The hours flew by in a blur of laughter, conversation, and shared moments of joy. As the sun began to set and the last of our customers filed out the door, I took a moment to pause and reflect on the day's events. Despite the challenges and uncertainties that lay ahead, I knew in my heart that I had made the right decision in pursuing my dreams. With a sense of gratitude and contentment filling my heart, I locked up the bakery for the night, knowing that tomorrow would bring new opportunities and new adventures. As I made my way home, I couldn't help but smile, feeling a sense of fulfillment unlike anything I had ever experienced before. As I settled into bed that night, I closed my eyes with a sense of peace and satisfaction, knowing that I was exactly where I was meant to be. And as sleep claimed me, I dreamed of the bright future that lay ahead, filled with endless possibilities and endless promise. The days turned into weeks and weeks into months, and with each passing day, the bakery flourished. Word spread quickly about our delectable treats and cozy atmosphere, and soon we had a loyal following of customers who returned again and again. But it wasn't just the success of the bakery that brought me joy. It was the sense of fulfillment that came from knowing I was finally living life on my own terms. No longer bound by the expectations of others or the constraints of a toxic relationship, I felt free to pursue my passions and embrace the opportunities that came my way. As the seasons changed and the bakery continued to thrive, I found myself surrounded by a community of friends and supporters who cheered me on every step of the way. Whether it was Lucia, who had become like family to me, or the customers who had become regulars at the bakery, I knew that I was never alone. And as for Dalton, he faded into the background of my life, his presence nothing more than a distant memory. Though I had forgiven him for the pain he had caused me, I had also moved on, leaving the past where it belonged and focusing on building a brighter future for myself. In time, I found love again, this time with someone who cherished and respected me for who I was. Together, we embarked on new adventures, creating memories that filled my heart with joy and gratitude. But through it all, the bakery remained my sanctuary, a place where I could express myself creatively and connect with others in a meaningful way. It was a reminder how far I had come and a testament to the strength and resilience that lay within me. And so, as I stood in the warm glow of the bakery's success, surrounded by the people I loved, I knew that I had finally found my happy ending. It wasn't the fairy tale ending I had once dreamed of, but it was something far more precious, a life filled with purpose, passion, and the freedom to be myself. As I looked out at the world beyond the bakery's walls, I felt a sense of gratitude wash over me. For in the end, it wasn't about the challenges we faced or the obstacles we overcame. It was about the journey itself and the lessons we learned along the way. And as I stepped into the next chapter of my life, I did so with a heart full of gratitude and a spirit that was ready to embrace whatever the future held. For I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would face them with courage, determination, and the unwavering belief that anything was possible. And so, with a smile on my face and a song in my heart, I bid farewell to the bakery that had been my home and my refuge, knowing that it would always hold a special place in my heart. And as I walked out into the world beyond, I knew that the best was yet to come. The moral of this story is one of resilience, self-discovery, and the power of pursuing your dreams. Despite facing adversity and betrayal, the protagonist finds the strength to break free from a toxic relationship and reclaim control of her life. Through perseverance, determination, and the support of loved ones, she not only survives but thrives, finding fulfillment in pursuing her passion and building a new future for herself. The story emphasizes the importance of self-belief, forgiveness, and embracing change, showing that even in the face of hardship, it is possible to find happiness and fulfillment by staying true to oneself and following one's dreams. As we come to the end of our storytelling journey, we're reminded of the resilience and courage found within the human spirit. Through the trials and triumphs of our protagonist, we've witnessed the transformative power of perseverance, self-discovery, and the pursuit of one's dreams. Join us again for more inspiring tales that illuminate the beauty of the human experience and the endless possibilities that await those who dare to dream. Thank you for joining us on this adventure, and may your own journey be filled with hope, resilience, and boundless joy. Until next time, keep dreaming and believing in the magic of storytelling.